Welcome to the Golfish Podcast. I'm your host, Amy Goodman. Every week on the show, we're going to bring you fascinating interviews with the people behind the players of the PGA, LPGA, Champions Tour, and beyond. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a minute of the action. This week is part 2 with Candace Evans. If you missed last week's episode, be sure to go back and check it out so you don't miss any of the action. Let's get started. So, okay, and tell me if, and I can cut this out if I need to, but I loved the reason behind why you chose to leave the PGA and go on to create Sunshine Social. Are you comfortable sharing that story?
I would love to, because I think so many women can relate to it, and
Absolutely.
It's a really hard thing to think about. And when I was at the tour, I worked pretty long hours, and my son was just about to turn 2. So I juggled it pretty well, and I actually liked being a working mom when I had my son. Mm-hmm. But once I was on the road a lot more, and I was trying to grow within the company, the opportunity came available to kind of set this up, and I gave it a really hard thought and I actually talked with my boss about it at the time, and he's like, he kind of gave me his suggestion, and he's a working dad, so he can relate. And I was pregnant with my daughter at the time, and I ended up working 2 jobs at the PGA Tour, and prior to maternity leave, starting this up so that I could start it full time once she came. Mm-hmm. But that's such a hard decision for moms to make, is like, okay, I'm going to have 2 kids in daycare. The cost of that, does it add up to what my salary is going to be when I'm working? It was a really tough decision because, like I said, I loved where I worked. There was nothing wrong with it. It was just one of those life moments where I felt I wanted to be at home more with my kids. I really wanted more balance, to be able to work within the industry and work with the people that I loved so much, but also spend more time with my kids. I just envisioned myself a couple of years down the road being able to pick my son up from school at 2:00, and, be the first person that he talks to when he gets out of school, and be able to call my shots a little bit better. I mean, sometimes I don't have a choice if I miss their first day of school or a baseball game or something like that. But for the most part, I can call my shots and say, I can't get there until a day later because it's her birthday or whatever it might be. There's a little bit more flexibility where I am now. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. I feel so blessed to, like I said, be able to work in an industry where I love all the people that I work with. I loved, working at the tour, and I loved working with the players when I was in that PR role. So this was really just a blessing to be able to start it up.
And I think when you were telling me that, I look at so many, I don't personally have kids, but I look at so many of my friends that have made tough decisions and changed career paths, or have stayed home by choice, or because, just like you said, daycare, like what in the world, if your whole salary is going to daycare, it just doesn't make sense. But I think it's so empowering to me to see that you had a career. You had worked really hard, had a couple of different roles with the PGA, and were able to find the balance that you needed in your life, stay in the industry you wanted, and continue to make an impact, because I really do think you're making a huge impact for these players and their families that you're working with. And I think that's commendable, because it is, like you said, it's a really big step, and it's hard for people to do.
It's hard. And I mean, you know this too. It's hard to take that step when you know you want to work for yourself, and you have this passion or you have something that you're really good at, but you don't know how to apply it, it's really hard to take the risk and just hope that it all happens. And I've had so many experiences in my life where I've never had a bad thing happen if I took a risk. Like, I might learn from it and I might grow from it if it, doesn't work out as expected. And that was kind of my mindset. I was like, you know what, if this all goes to shit, I can just apply for a job somewhere else.
Yeah. It's a learning opportunity. It's not failure.
And start fresh. But I would hate myself if I never took the risk to jump at, working for myself and having the balance that I need with my kids. And it's continuing to grow, which is even more exciting. I'm able to do things with my business now. Like when I first started, I thought it was going to go one way. And now I'm like, oh, well, it'll be really cool if I do more with video production. And I'm kind of looking at different avenues where I can take it. So there's never like a loss of challenge, I think, when you have your own business. And I don't know, I love doing this, but it's very hard to take that risk for a lot of people.
And so how long have you been running your own company now?
I've been running my company since 2000. Oh gosh, when she was born 2017.
Okay.
So I started it up around the summertime that year because she was born in August.
Okay. Oh, a Leo?
And yeah.
Yeah,
both
get
my
it, girl.
children were born in August. Yeah.
Love it.
Wait, what's your birthday?
August 5th.
Okay, she's August 15th, and my son's August 21st.
Oh, that's funny. So the 15th is my sister-in-law's birthday, and then my brother-in-law and sister-in-law's wedding anniversary.
Oh, nice.
So many connections.
Isn't that funny how it works out like that?
Yes.
My best friend got married on August 29th, and it was the year my son was due on that exact date.
Oh my
gosh. What are the chances it's that day? And it was also my grandmother's birthday. So
you're like, let's just see what more we can pack on this calendar today.
Yeah. So I've been doing it. How long is that? About 2 years.
Yeah,
exactly?
right at 2 years. Yeah, yeah. Any regrets?
Yeah. No, actually, I don't have a single regret. I just feel like the timing was all there. I mean, I actually cried the day that I sent my notice to the tour, and I just was like, I felt like I had no choice at that point because I'd worked to this with through my maternity leave. And I just felt like, you always have that doubt, like, did I leave something on the table by did I leave too soon? Kind of.
Yeah.
And I just think now, looking back on it, that it turned out exactly how it's supposed to be. Like, now that I have my daughter and being able to spend more time with her at home, while I was starting this up. And my son actually had a couple behavioral issues at school. So the extra time gave me, the chance to work with him a little bit more on that kind of stuff.
Right,
so,
right. It's the Leo in him. We have big personalities.
It must be. Yeah, my daughter has a big personality too. She waves at everybody when she walks into a room. She's like Miss Congeniality.
That's so cute. I failed out of daycare like the first time my mom tried to drop me off. She was a stay-at-home mom. She was helping run my dad's company. And after like 2 weeks, they were like, yeah, she's not ready to be away from you yet. So you can come pick her up. So, and then like after that, I went back later and everything was fine. Like, da-da-da, bye mom.
You're like, I'm ready now.
Yeah, I'm ready now. See you later.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's tough with kids, and like, especially, when you're a mom, your mom was probably thrilled that she got to spend more time with you, actually.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's tough when you're not sure if they're ready yet, but you want to try and, make sure they're growing the best way possible.
Yeah,
There's a lot that goes into decisions like that. And when you feel like they're not getting it right, or they're having trouble, you really blame yourself as a mom.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm the queen of that, mom guilt, if I was there more for them, or if, there's always the what if, but I've learned with 2 of them now that there's never going to be a right way.
Right. Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
never going to be a right way. You're damned if you stay home all the time with them. You're damned if you send them to school for daycare to get some work done. Yeah. There's everyone has an opinion, so you might as well do what you want, and that goes for life too.
Absolutely. I do want to go back to one thing that you said, that you don't have any regrets, because I think that is so important. I think you regret all the shots that you didn't take, and by running out there and trying something new is huge. I feel like I listened to, and I did this myself before I started the podcast. I was like ready to go almost a year ago with a different podcast idea. And, we were sitting at a tournament with a couple of friends, and they're like, why don't you talk about golf? And I was like, yeah, okay. And it all kind of worked.
And it seems so obvious now,
I know,
right?
it does. Yeah. But go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
No, I had the same thing. I was trying to think of things that I could do prior to the opportunity becoming available. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking of starting a house staging company. I always loved interior design. So I was way left. I have no interior design experience whatsoever. I just
darn. I was about to say, I was like, come on up. I have a house to decorate.
I'll come decorate it.
Perfect. I love it.
It will not be professional.
That's okay. It will be made with love.
Yeah. I went left field, like you were saying.
Yeah, I was going to do one on human resources. My profession is human resources, and I would come home and I had everything ready to go, and Rich would look at me like, "Okay, are you going to do it?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then we talked about it on vacation, and I came back and I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'm going to do it." And he's like, "When are you going to do it?" I'm like, "I don't know." And then one day a microphone was delivered, and I was like, "Oh, I guess we're doing this." And I literally sat down one night. I didn't even tell him what I was doing. We were watching TV, and I sat there and I reached out to about 24 people from the PGA and LPGA, like caddies, coaches, wives, family members, agents, whoever. And I closed my phone and I was like, if no one answers me, it's okay. I tried. Not a big deal. No harm, no foul. And about 30 minutes later, I got back on Instagram, and Kenny Harms and Scott Hamilton had both responded. And I was like, oh, okay. So Scott is the best. He's so awesome. And he is just one of my favorite people I think I've ever met, because he is so funny and so unassuming, and that Southern charm just exudes from him. And he sounds like my husband's family. My husband's family is primarily from Georgia, so I just felt like I was talking to one of them, which made it really easy. But he was like, yeah, tell me more about the podcast. And I was like, okay, let me know when you have some time. And he's like, sends me his phone number. He's like, I'm free now. And I was like, oh, okay. Wait, what just happened? Wait, what? I'm not prepared. I don't have a script. What are you talking about? But I'm with you on, you just have to at some point jump in, and if it's not a failure. It's an opportunity to continue to learn.
And I think there's something in there. And what you said is, if it's not driving you to start, if you're not excited about doing the steps it takes to get started, then it's probably not going to last either. you started this golf podcast and you haven't looked back.
No.
Same with me and my business.
Mm-hmm.
And you're probably even more excited about it today than you were when you first started.
Oh, absolutely. 100% without a doubt. I mean, I don't know why I keep scheduling late interviews, because I'll probably go to sleep at like 2 a.m. because I will just be wired, and I'll get off this and I'll unplug because my husband's in the room, but he can't hear anything that you're saying. So I'll get off this and be like, oh my God, listen to this and this and this and this. And he's like, I will be listening when I edit it. And I'm like, oh yeah.
And it's a Monday too, so you're in for a big week.
I know. Hey, you know what? I figured we weren't going to get a lot of sleep because of moving anyway. It's fine.
There you go.
So one thing I had asked you earlier today was your thought, and I mean, I would think that maybe Sergio and Bryson, BJ, Joaquin would all probably have some thoughts on this, but I'm just so fascinated by the fact that FedEx Cup now happens. You have a week off and you restart 2019-2020 PGA season. The race to Dubai is still on. It doesn't finish until the week before Thanksgiving. And then the European Tour schedule, I couldn't find it. I don't know that it's out for 2020, 2021, I guess. Or like, I guess it's all of 2020. Why are they not on the same or like closer schedules? Is it because of the championships?
That's a great question. I don't even think they know.
It's just, I'm like, I don't know how anyone knows what they're supposed to be doing or when they're off or when they're not.
Well, I think the way that they have it set up is, the FedEx Cup championships have their own time to shine. Then the race to Dubai has their own time to shine. And if you look at the PGA Tour schedule as a whole, they've reconfigured it so it makes sense. They've switched around timing with a lot of the around the majors.
Yeah.
But it makes more sense from a map if you're looking at it. So there's a true California swing. There's a true Florida swing with Mexico in there. And I think that helps with the players' schedules a lot. So some guys will even live in California during the California swing and over, the off season or winter break. And then they'll come down to Florida when it hits that Florida swing. And then if you look at how the race to Dubai is set up, it's kind of during this off season window, and the World Golf Championships, HSBC Champions is over in Shanghai. So, there's a chance where players can go over to Europe and they can spend 2-3 weeks at a time and knock a few European Tour events out, and, play the WGC if they need to. But some guys just go over there for, a lot of race to Dubai events and just try to compete for that title.
Got it. That makes sense. It's so fascinating. I am learning so much. I thought I knew a decent amount, and which was probably like 0.1% about golf when I started this. But it's so fascinating researching all of this because you go in there, and I was talking to a friend, it was early on, and I was like, oh yeah, the Greenbrier's in September. And he was like, but I thought the PGA season really kicked off in April. And I was like, well, first major is in April, but there is just the amount of stuff they have before that is just, it was like, but the things that were popular were like Waste Management and then Augusta.
Yeah.
And that was what got all the press.
A lot of people have that assumption that it kicks off Masters Week, I think. And now that the schedule's changed, you have the Players Championship before the Masters. You have the World Golf Championships, Mexico Championship is before the Masters. So there's all of these, other things to look at prior to the Masters kicking off. And I used to kind of bat an eye at the Hawaii events, but they've actually come to be like really exciting to watch too. And I actually went to Maui last year for the first time, so I'm hooked on watching from that point forward.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's plenty. Now that they have a little bit of a window, for that off season. Greenbrier is supposed to be the first event on the PGA Tour now that they've switched the season up.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's not that they necessarily are not playing it, not playing golf, but the major channels just aren't covering anything until football season and basketball season are over. So if you're watching Golf Channel, there's still plenty to watch.
Yeah, and I think the PGA Tour commissioner Monahan has actually said that he doesn't want to compete with the NFL. So that's probably why he gave a little bit more of that break and not, I think they pushed the FedEx Cup playoff events up so they weren't competing with that football window, and they pushed the President's Cup down to December now. So it wouldn't compete with that too.
Yeah, it makes sense because when you're choosing between one or the other, the NFL is just going to win out on that. And it would just be so unfortunate for some of these players to lose some of the press that they so rightly deserve.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you have a Joaquin Sergio Solheim Cup extravaganza.
Oh my gosh. That was just, I have an Apple Watch and I was getting active minutes on my watch because my heart rate was so high watching the Solheim Cup. It was like, I was like throwing pillows. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't sit still. This is crazy. It was, very, very well fought by the U.S. and congratulations to Europe. They played. Those final 3 pairings just play their hearts out. It was crazy.
For sure. Yeah. It's tough to see a U.S. loss, but
it is.
They did play their hearts out. It was still exciting.
Yeah, if you're going to lose, I'd rather lose like that than, a shutout, where it was just like, did anyone show up? For how young the U.S. team was, they played fantastic golf. I think they left it all out there and they did everything that they could. And I think they did a fantastic job and I commend them for what they were able to do in Scotland. But I will have to say, I can only imagine that the excitement for Europe in Scotland had to be as pumped up as it was when like Shane won in Ireland, where it was just like the whole country is just like going crazy.
They're still celebrating.
Yeah.
They'll be celebrating for the next month.
That's perfectly fine. I love it. Good for them.
Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah. We wish we were over there with you next time. We'll be there. Who are, for you, who are some players that we should be on the lookout for that are coming up? Joaquin,
good
obviously.
Question. Joaquin, for sure.
And what is your nickname for him? I'm sorry. How do you say it?
Waco.
Waco.
He goes by Waco with everybody. He goes by Waco.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Gosh, well, a lot of guys had a little bit of a breakthrough on tour last year without even really having their cards. Matthew Wolff, Colin Morikawa, and Victor Hovland are kind of who I'm excited to watch this year on the PGA Tour and just see if they can continue their success and have a couple of more wins, because it actually dawned on me as we were watching Joaquin's win and seeing the stat of him and who else was it? I think Rory maybe 20 and under to win that event. I'm wrong on that. I'm totally wrong, but I can't remember who the other person was.
Of the non-Americans?
Oh no, it's like
okay, because there was something about Seve, Rory, and Joaquin being the
That's the stat I'm thinking of, but I think it was Matthew Wolff, how young he was to win on the PGA Tour, and he beat Joaquin by a couple of months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think he was like 20 years and 2 months, and Joaquin is 20 years and 10 months.
I can't imagine being that cool under pressure at that age. Like I was not.
Right?
I wouldn't be now.
I'm like just thinking about what I was doing at 20 years old, and I was not that good at anything or like had myself together that well at all. So I give these guys kudos. But there's this whole, we think of Jordan and Justin and Ricky as like the new wave, but now there's these guys that are even younger that are coming through.
Absolutely.
That they're the new wave.
Yes.
And it's just so hard for me to think about, because I still look at, that Jordan crew as, the 20 somethings, and now they've got like these even younger guys that are coming up. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree. It'll start making us all feel old when it was like, oh, Jordan were the young ones.
They don't seem intimidated at all by the guys that have been out there for umpteen years that are, major winners or have won, in the teens of PGA Tour events. They're just not intimidated. They keep it cool.
Yeah, I think, wasn't it Matthew and Colin that were playing against each other in that final hole, and Matthew won, and then like the following weekend, Colin won, and Victor was all over the news for his stats over the last few events that he's played. I mean, these guys are they're good. And they're fun to watch because they're just, you can see when they play well, they do show their emotion, and you just like, you want to cheer them on. I don't know that there's really many people that I don't want to cheer on, but they just make it so exciting.
Who's your favorite player?
Overall?
Yeah.
Jordan Spieth.
Okay.
I talked a bunch of trash a handful of years ago when he won the Masters. We were going to be down there on Sunday, and I kept telling everyone, I mean, going into the week, I was like, Jordan's going to win. Jordan's going to win. They're like, And I think I got into it because when I liked golf in high school, I liked the sport. I liked physically going out and playing golf. And then when I went to college, I stopped watching it. I stopped playing everything. And then I started watching it 8 or 9 years ago again. And when I was watching, I had to relearn players because it had shifted so much over like from high school and college into what we're watching today. And I would follow all of these people. At the time I was on Facebook, but I would follow people, and then with Instagram I would follow wives and their caddies, and I would get really deep into these stories, and they were so fascinating, and I would be talking to my husband or whoever we were watching it with, and Jordan's family just seems so wonderful, and I think they were some of the first people that I really started following and just seeing how cool they seem to be. And then it just kind of went down a rabbit hole. Erin Walker was a big one that I watched. I thought it was so cool that she was into like equestrian jumping and stuff. And so I just, I go back to some of my original players that I loved. Like in high school, VJ was one of my favorite players. I remember going to the Memorial. Oh, cool. Yeah, I remember going to the Memorial 7-8 years ago and seeing him play and just being like, oh my gosh, he's so close. This is so cool. So I have like a probably like a top 10 of people I watch. It's just so interesting to me though. My husband and I talk about this all the time, and I told him because he played football in college. So I don't understand football. I'm not a huge football person. No one would ever accuse me of being a huge football person. But I'm like, I don't understand why we watch golf and we cheer for whoever's winning. And we're always so excited for whoever wins. And it's like they fought so hard. And then we watch football and people have to scream at TVs. I'm like, shouldn't we just cheer for who's winning? He's like, that's not how it works. I'm like, well, I think that's how it should work.
You're so right. That's when watching match play events, and especially the team events, becomes really exciting because people actually, they are cheering for teams.
Yes.
Versus, like you said, it's like the guy that's winning, you just want to see him pull through.
Yeah.
And it's an upset if someone comes from behind.
Mm-hmm.
And that match you were talking about with Colin and Matthew was actually the one where Bryson came from behind and
oh my gosh, and he made that
like
crazy putt.
So close to going into a playoff, and Matthew sunk the putt, and it was just an uproar. I mean, that's the thing about golf is you never know when there's going to be like this crazy Sunday, and everyone remembers those moments.
Yeah. You know what I remember about that and so vividly is when Matthew came off the course, Bryson was there for him. And that is one of my favorite things in golf is whoever wins, there are always like a handful of players that are there congratulating them and have stuck around and watched it. And I just adore when that happens because it's like these guys, yeah, they're like, dang it, I didn't win. That kind of sucks. But I mean, I can only imagine how happy Bryson was for Matthew being like, dude, this is your first tour win. That's a big deal because I'm sure he could flash back and remember his.
Exactly. They've all been there. And the thing about golf is like you might be on top of your game 1 minute and then all of a sudden go through like a year-long lull or a 2-year-long lull and not be able to get your game back no matter what you do. It's such a fickle sport, and there's a lot that's mental that goes into it that just makes it one of those things you can never, ever predict.
No, not at all.
It's such an individual sport, to your point about, you know, the NFL versus golf. It's such an individual sport that, you know, you could be pulling for your guy one year and then all of a sudden you have like a new favorite player the next if he's not doing too good.
Yeah. I stay consistent. People are like, oh, Jordan's not doing well. I'm like, you know, that's okay. I just think
he'll be back though. Like,
he will. I fall in love, I think, with
moments, and then he'll go through something. Like I truly believe that when they have those down and out times, and he said like I was going through a lot. I'm fine now, but I feel like whenever they have those moments, they come back way stronger, and then there's, you know, this repeat of consecutive wins for them. So when he does come back, watch the media.
Seriously. Oh, they're just going to be like, oh my God, we knew it. I think that my favorite thing, I think honestly about Jordan is his and Michael's celebrations. They are just like, they just crack me up. And I think their story is so neat about how that all kind of came to fruition. But I just think I think those stories, are what just make golf so intriguing to people. You know, you had told me a story when the first time we talked about Bryson and his caddy from Evans Scholars. That was so like, do you want to talk about that? Because I thought that was just such a sweet story.
Yeah, I had just learned about the Evans Scholar when I was at the BMW Championship, and it's a scholarship that's based in Chicago, and it's for caddies. So they have like a whole system set up, basically schooling for these kids, and they have to get a certain GPA to be considered for the scholarship. They have to present to a board a couple of times a year to like maintain the scholarship. It's a really rigorous process for them, and they get funding for their schooling. So the kid that was with Bryson was like a 4, I think he was like a 4.0 GPA, like super intelligent kid, very humble and nice. And after the round, Bryson like gave him a fist bump, and he's like, wait, right here. I got to go grab something. He grabbed his wallet from his agent, handed him like whatever cash was in his wallet. And he's like, I don't know how much it is, but thank you so much for your time today. And the kid, like, I feel like the kid had made a best friend with Bryson that day too. Like Bryson took over his Snapchat, which actually got him into a little bit of trouble. Later on, the kid sent a Snapchat message to just his friends, but his friends took the message and sent it to Barstool, so it just made Bryson look kind of bad. And those are the behind the scenes moments, and I'll put that one up on Sunshine Social if people want to see the behind the scenes of what I'm talking about with the caddy. It's just, those are the little moments that I try and show to people, and give to my players to put on their social accounts so that they can see the personality of these guys beyond, what's going on inside the ropes, because there's so much to be seen about them and to know about them, other than what's in the storylines or what's in the broadcast. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. I completely agree with you, because it's, I think that had just happened the first time you and I chatted, and I don't even know, it wasn't on your social feed that I had seen it. Someone else had already picked it up. And it was just, you're right. People aren't seeing those small moments that mean so much to that caddy or to that kid that they were walking by that they gave a ball to, or whatever it was, when these kids get these things. And I mean, they're like, they light up, and you see the player equally light up.
They wait. If a player says, I'll be there, I can't sign right now, I'll sign after 18, you can bet they will be there, and they will wait. If the player says, I got to go do something and I'll come back, they're there. Like, it means so much to these kids. I try and, grab stuff for, if I see like a really small kid with their hat on or something like that, and they want it signed, I'll try and grab it and, take it to Bryson or whatever, to get him to sign it and then run it back. But that's the kind of access that you get at these events that, you don't get at an NFL game. I mean, that's kind of the exciting part, is anyone can really walk away with a signature if they're patient enough and nice enough.
That's a huge thing too. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Candace. This has been absolutely wonderful. You are so much fun to chat with.
I've loved it. I know. If you make it to Sea Island again this year, please let me know.
100%. I'm going to go through. So we're moving. Obviously, there's a lot going on, but within the next couple of months, like, I'm sitting down and figuring out where I can make it to. So you and I will definitely be connecting, and I can't wait.
We'll do a Where Are They Now podcast revisit.
Exactly. And every time, and every time you have a player that wins, we'll just do another spotlight on them and tell about how awesome it was.
Love it.
Perfect. Well, you ready to
inviting me?
Yes.
And I had such a great time, and I can't wait to hear how it all comes out.
Absolutely. And I'd love to play a quick 9 with you. Are you ready?
Oh, let's do it.
All right. What is your most memorable event or occurrence that happened on tour?
Let's see. I have a couple, so I'm just trying to wade through in my mind. When I worked at Doral, obviously President Trump was here, there, and everywhere during tournament week. And I actually worked that event the year that we announced we were going to Mexico. And Trump was running for president. And he had made comments about the wall at that point, and we had so many Trump supporters call the PGA Tour when he said that we weren't coming back to Doral. And going through that process of kind of like crisis management was, I'll never forget it. It was probably one of the best learning experiences for me, because there will never be a time when I'm working an event that's leaving and going out of the country and is kind of in line with a future president. So that was kind of crazy. And I can also say that I worked with President Trump and Ivanka. I worked with Ivanka on fashion shows when it was in Miami.
You have such an eclectic background.
We could talk for a while. And then my other favorite event was when I first started working with Bryson. I didn't know that if his speak was like kind of like a marketing ploy or whatever, like a lot of people wonder about that, but he is truly who he is. And he like dropped something to the side and he bent over and was like, like he made like a noise when he like picked it up, and his friend was like, "Are you all right?" And he's like, "Yeah, the axis of my vertebrae was
oh my gosh
coefficient with the line of the ground, and I think that it came out of like he had this fully scientific answer for whatever was going on with his lumbar." And I just started laughing so hard. No one else was laughing because they were used to this like kind of talk from him.
Right.
But I still crack up when he gets his scientific method going.
Because you're like, oh, you hurt your back? Okay, cool.
Right.
Let me translate this for all the lay people around us.
Right, exactly.
Who is the funniest player on tour?
Funniest player.
Or I guess, you know what? It can also be who's the funniest person in like the traveling circus.
There was a guy that used to work on Team Bryson that always had me in stitches. Ben Baxter used to work with Team Bryson. He was like his day-to-day manager. And I looked forward to going to events when I knew Ben would be there because it was like nonstop laugh fest. That kid should be a comedian. Ben Baxter, you win.
Ben Baxter, you win. I like it. Are you a frequent flyer or a road tripper?
If I can drive, I'll drive. I drive to Atlanta and I drive to Miami.
Okay.
Because if you do the math, by the time you get in the car, leave your house, get to the airport, park, go through security, wait the 20 minutes, 30 minutes before you board, and there might be a delay.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same amount of time, 5 hours to get to Miami and 5 hours to get to Atlanta, and I'm on my terms. So
oh, absolutely, yeah.
I can leave when I want, and I don't have delays.
Yeah, that makes it a little bit easier.
Hopefully, if there's not an accident or something.
Do you prefer the East Coast or the West Coast?
East, all the way. Born and raised, and every time I go on the West Coast, I don't know. It's just not my vibe. I'm really an East Coast girl, for sure. Florida all the way.
Florida all the way. What is your favorite form of social media?
Instagram. I'm a visual person. I like seeing graphics. I get really inspired by people that I follow. I get tons of ideas on that platform too for different things that we can do for my clients. And it doesn't matter. It could be, a fashion model posting something or an airline brand. I just get inspiration all the time on Instagram. I love it.
Yeah, you're very, very generous with your sharing of your wisdom on Instagram, which I really appreciate. So thank you.
Oh, am I?
You are. You're like, oh, hey, have you tried this? And I was like, oh, it's on my to-do list. But then I tried it, and it wasn't nearly as hard as I was making it out to be. So once I actually tried it, I was like, all right, we're good. Thanks, Candace.
See, I am full of ideas. I love sending ideas. So if I send something, I'll send it I'll find something, I'll send it your way.
Perfect. Love it. Are you a dog or a cat person?
Dogs. I'm actually allergic to cats.
So is my husband.
So
Kills
dogs
me.
all the way. Yeah.
What is your drink of choice?
Like alcoholic or
anything.
On a normal basis, I drink flavored seltzer water like it's nobody's business. I drink, I'm not a big LaCroix person, but Dasani sparkling water or bubbly are my jam, and I'll drink like a case a day. I'm not even lying.
Oh my goodness. Was this did you used to drink pop and then this was your replacement, or like these came out and you were like, yep, water isn't boring
By
now?
the way, I love that you said
I said pop.
No one else calls it pop unless you're in the Northeast.
Yep. And being from Pennsylvania, you would know that.
Yes, I know it very well. I used to drink Diet Coke a lot, and I need the bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
And I like crave it if I don't have the bubbles. I don't know what it is.
Oh, that's funny. Where are you headed next?
I am headed to Shriners in Las Vegas. We're going to be doing some fun stuff with Bryson's foundation and celebrating his return.
Oh, I was about to say he's defending, right? That'll be good.
Yeah, so we'll do some fun stuff there, and I'll probably find some time with Joaquin and see what we can do there as well.
Cool. And last question, what is your best piece of advice for those looking to make a move into something new and haven't done it yet?
I would say trust your gut, do your homework, and just don't be afraid to take that first step, because sometimes you can like plan yourself out of actually doing the work it takes. You know what I mean? Like you can actually just get in like a cycle of planning and never really take the leap. So just start. And then once you start, see what the next step is and just keep looking for that next step. Because that's going to be what drives you. And that's the exciting part.
I love it. Candace, thank you so much. Can't wait to meet you. I will get with you as soon as I can and let you know where we're going to be so we can hang out. It's going to be awesome.
I know. I can't wait. Thank you, Amy.
Have a great night.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for joining me this week. Let's continue the conversation online. You can find me at Golfish Podcast or at Miss Amy Goodman on Instagram. See you next week.